Hello folks, this is Brian LeDuc, and on my previous video I asked YouTubers if they'd be interested in a playlist on the software Clip Studio Paint. Now this playlist, even though it will be on a painting software, is aimed towards vector users who want to draw cartoon work more freestyle. So this is not for people who want to create logos. It's not for people who want to create web design layouts. It will be strictly for illustration purposes, because Clip Studio Paint actually has a lot of great tools for vector work. So I'd like to make a playlist on this now, and this will be the first video in the series. So I made some notes on ideas for a video. This is the video you're watching now, Clip Studio Paint Beginner's Guide. This is going to be the longest video. Not all of them will be as long as this one will be, because a lot of these are going to be a lot like the Affinity Designer Tips and Tricks playlist, except I'll be narrating and it won't be as fast. It'll be more slow paced. So be 10 free vector line tips, vector racing, working with fills, and it's not finished, but I just have some different ideas I've been writing down here. And notice how I also have advanced videos, and then up here there are beginners videos. So I just decided that they're going to be two different types, and maybe on the video thumbnails they could be indicated by different stars explaining its difficulty. So before getting to the advanced videos, these first first 4 right now, or possibly 5 in the future. These first 4 will be needed to know before getting into the more advanced videos. So this is what you need to know about the playlist anyway. So this is the program, Clip Studio Paint, and the price for this program, it is $50 if you are going to be using the Pro version, and then there is the X version, which is $219. I'm using the Pro version, so everything that I'll be showing you in these tutorial videos will be for the $50 price. And if you want to download a free trial for a Mac, you have 6 months free to use the program. For Windows it is 3 months, and then it's different depending on the device and operating system that you use. So something that commonly frustrates me is that many software tutorials teach key commands too early. For my learning style, I like to know how the program is organized first, and then I like to learn about the shortcuts. There cannot be simplicity and productivity without organization, so in most cases I end up learning on my own. So here are the notes that I gathered as I was exploring the software. And here are some things you will need to know before getting started. Okay, so let's launch the program. Now this is not what the icon looks like. I just like to change icons around for my Mac. This is actually a fan-made icon. Okay, so I'm gonna go to File, New. Okay, now you'll see this is the interface, and it will look very clunky when you first start it, and it will not look the same as this. You will have more windows open. You can move windows around by clicking and dragging, and then once you come up with a workspace that you like, you can go to Window, Workspace, and this is a register workspace. And then let's say that you reset the workspace, like I'm going to do this. The following items will reset the default layout. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Okay, so this is what the program looks like when you first open it, and I do not like the way this looks, so what I'm going to do is go to Window, Workspace, reload Brian's workspace. Okay. And now we're back to the way it was. I'm going to just, yeah, these windows don't really dock. And actually I have a custom dock here, and there is a panel under this that my dock is hiding. It's kind of like for rotating the canvas and all, but you can do it over here also. Okay, so let's talk about the workspace first. So the workspace that I am using looks like this. Now you'll see over here are your tools, and depending on what you select, over here your subtools will be selected. And then depending on what you select here in your subtool panel will change under the tool properties. So this is where you adjust the options, this is where you adjust the subtools. So here I have the pen tool, and I'm gonna just draw something. Okay, now you see that I have many options here. Now, I believe that there are some options here that are not here by default, like stabilization. I don't remember if it's here by default, and if it is not, down here there is a wrench icon, and this wrench icon is in the tool properties panel. So if I click on this, it will bring up the subtool details. Now this means that this will list all options that are not in this panel by default. So for something like the stabilization feature, I believe, where was it? Oh, correction. Alright, so it's under the correction tab, and see how there are different eye icons here. If I select this, you see that this stabilization feature went away, but now I'm going to click it again, and now it comes back. Now there are some options that I would like quick access to, like maybe flip horizontal or flip vertical, or maybe even transform, distort, mesh warp. Because something that I don't like to do is to go through these menus up here. I like everything to be here in the interface. Now over here you'll see this bar here. This is called the command bar. Now some of these options are not here by default. Now something that I noticed is that when I went back to my original workspace, it's changed my workspace the way I like it, but it actually removed some of the features that I like here. Well, it actually works out this way because now I can show you how to get to the tools I like. So let's say you want to distort something. So I'm gonna with this layer selected, I'm gonna click on this icon, and now I can resize this. And you see here that when I selected that option, what was in the tool properties panel changed. And under here where it says mode, I can select how I want to transform this. I can say distort, and now it distorted. And the thing that's beautiful is that this is vector. And I could also change the vector width if I want to. Now it's a little too late since I already did, but I can uncheck that if I don't want it to change. So it's kind of like Affinity Designer, which says scale with object. You can also do perspective. And now notice how the stroke size is staying the same. Okay, so I'm going to just click OK for that. So if I get back to the command bar, I want more options here. So this is flip horizontal and flip vertical, but this is for the canvas, not actually the layers themselves, and that's what I want. I want the layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the command bar. I'm going to say command bar settings, And now I'm going to add some of the options that I want. So first, I need a flip horizontal, flip vertical. So I'm going to go to Edit, and let's see, Transform, flip horizontal, Add, flip vertical, Add, and notice how options come up here. Now they're it looks like they are pen icons. I mean, I think these are more identifiable, and so I'm gonna move these over here. You can just click, hold, and then drag. I'm gonna put it right there and put this one over here. Put it in the right order. And now I'm also gonna say I'm gonna do mesh transform. I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna add this one after this one. And now I can close. So now if I want to add mesh warp on this layer, I'm going to just do mesh warp. Now you see that you have different options up here too. Now, so you see that over here I have layers, history, auto action. I don't really use these two tabs. I do use the color wheel, the color set, and I don't really use this tab either, the layer property. But who knows? I might in the future as I experience more. I almost said I'll learn more in the past. Alright, and then over here you see that there are options here as well. This first option are common shortcuts. So if you don't have to have all the options here, like like scale, rotate. I just call it transform, mesh transformation. There are some options here as well that you could have quick access to. And there's also different sets like set 1, set 2, and you can add your own options here. You go quick access, and then it's the same like I showed you for the command bar. So just keep that in mind. This is another way you could do that. And now these buttons down here, these are for different assets. So I could show you these in more tutorials. You can create vector patterns, you can create textures, you can even create 3D figures. Now I'm gonna wait before showing you the 3D figures because the program has crashed when I drag these down, so I'm gonna just do a little more testing before I show this to you. However, something that I can show you is the materials on the assets library. So if I click on this icon, you see that a new panel opens up. So this is Clip Studio that I'm using, and the program that I am doing a tutorial is Clip Studio Paint. And there's also Clip Studio Modeler, which is a 3D program for 3D modeling. And even in this program, you can bring 3D models into the program and customize them in 3D. You can also bring textures, patterns, hand references. You could bring a lot of things, like you could even type clothing. Yeah, and so you could dress up your 3D models. So there's a lot you can do. This is your assets library, which is kind of like Clip Studio. So I'm going to close out of this. Okay, now let's get into the common vector tools. So the common vector tools, so first there are the freehand tools. So there's the pen tool, the pencil tool, the brush tool, and the airbrush tool. I commonly use the pen tool, and you can choose your pen stroke up here, and I did change the effect for this one, And the way I changed the effect was down here. So over here, under here where it says brush size, originally this knob under here where it says, see, brush size and then minimum value, this was originally down below. What I did was I increased it all the way up. You could have it down if you want, and this program, it does have pressure sensitivity. I like to just leave it like this and do further editing later on. Now there are options for the pen tool that I like. So like post correction, for example, when I draw, see how I kind of have a shaky hand a little bit? When I release, it auto smooths. So that is post correction. And if I have it all the way up and then when I draw, whoa, that auto smooth way too much. Let's go down a bit. Yeah, so it does the performance is greater the higher you have it. I like to keep it on 2. And of course you can have no post correction if you prefer. And then you have the vector magnet. This means you can continue from endpoints. And it means you can also connect going into another stroke's endpoint. So that is, if you have that selected, that's what that does. And then stabilization is kind of like Affinity Designer's draw on a string approach, except it's a little different. And it actually works better if I use my stylus. I was using my mouse. See how the cursor is a little ahead? If I have the stabilization all the way down, it does not do that. And also, if you come from Affinity Designer, then you'll know that the pen tool is a lot like the Bezier tool in that program. But in this program, the pen tool is more like a pencil tool. So if you want to use Affinity Designer's pen tool or a Bezier tool, you want to go under here, under the figure tools, and then you want to go to continuous curve. And then kind of like the pen tool, you click once, click again, click, click. And now if I want the next curve to be straightened out, I'm going to just click this dot and do that. And then when I click and hold, I can create more of a curved, and then I can click, and then I can double click when I'm done. So that's one of the options. Now notice that Affinity Designer's pen tool is a little different. This is kind of like a smart mode in a way. Oh, and when I'm using the continuous curve, notice that down here I have different modes. So what I was using was called the spline mode. Oh, and when I was using the continuous curve, you probably noticed that the way that this line came out was a lot like Affinity Designer's Smart Pen mode, whereas I'm used to just the regular pen mode. I forget exactly what it's called, and I've been using it all the time. So what I'm going to do is, down here under the Tool Properties panel, I'm going to actually select this option here, the Cubic Bezier. And now when I select this, see, it's kind of like the same. And now when I'll hold this click and then drag my mouse, you'll notice that this is very similar to the pen mode in Affinity Designer. And then if I don't want this next curve to curve, I'm going to just click and then straighten it out. And there's also a spline feature. So if I select oh no, it's not spline. This is called Quadric Bezier. Serif Draw Plus, I think, called this spline. What was it? I don't know. I don't recall 100%, but this is how this one works. So it's very similar to one of the other pen modes, but you'll see that the way that this forms is that it's kind of in a cage in a way. And I could, rather than manipulate the lines themselves, I kind of manipulate the cage. Next is the eraser tool. So the eraser tool, you'll notice I have different options down here for the vector eraser. So here the vector eraser is just this mode, and you have to have vector eraser checked off. So here is just erased touched areas. So first let's bring my eraser up. I'm going to just do this. And it separates these objects. However, if I select this mode, erase up to intersections, so I'm going to swipe this line, and see it just gets rid of the intersection. This is great when doing character art, so you don't have to, it's okay if you crisscross your lines, just do a quick swipe. And then this last option is the whole line. So I want to erase, let's see, this line. And then it just erases the whole one. Okay, now we're going to get into the operation tool versus the move tool. So the operation tool you use to select different objects. So here's old Richie Rich art. Well, not old, but like the cartoon is old. So Richie Rich and Gloria Glad. So I'm gonna select the object of Richie. So the operation tool will select objects, and then I can move these objects. However, if I tried doing it with a move tool, it selects the entire layer. So let's say if you want to have a folder, all you have to do is select the folder in your layers panel, and then with the move tool, you can just move the layer with the move tool, whereas the operation tool is specifically for individual vectors. Now there's something very important you should know about the operation tool. So I'm gonna let's see, select Richie's thumb, and now under here, when I click operation of transparent part, I have down here select area by dragging checked off. So if I don't have this checked off, so I cannot create a bounding box around Richie. However, if I select him and then I go here and say select area by dragging, now I can create a bounding box. And another thing is down here, by default, object will be selected, but I like to have control point selected as well. This means that when I create a bounding box, I can select the individual control points as opposed to the objects. So it all depends on what it is that you want to edit. Now there are also different node operations, of course. So I'm going to just select this part of his vest. And now if for the different node operations, I'm actually going to go over here, one of the correct line modes, and then over here with a control point subtool selected, these are different options here. So like move control points. Add control points. Delete, switch corner, adjust line width, adjust opacity, and split line. So that brings us to our line operation tools now. So here I just showed you the control point tool. Now I can also show you the pinch vector line So the pinch vector line, this is good for warping, bending. So this can like kind of push the line a little. However, it cannot, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, it cannot push more than one layer at a time. So if I go to Richie and try pushing his hand, see how the stroke and color layers do not work as the same? So I'm going to do some editing on Gloria now. Now look at how many control points are on her head. So I want to simplify this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to simplify vector line, and I'm going to just brush on her hair. Now let's see. See, it made quite an improvement, although I forgot the bow was on another layer, so I could do that again. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Now it's easier to manipulate these. There's also the connect line tool. So let's say that I did not have the vector magnet here, and then I realized, oops, these are two different strokes, and I want them both to connect. Well, then I just go over here, have connect vector line, and then it connects. Although it's simplified a little too much, I'm going to undo this and maybe do like level 1. Well, you know, what happens if I do no simplify and just do that? It auto smooths a little because it connects. Yeah, see how well it works? And then there's also the correct line width. See how it's getting thicker by doing this? And to see, that's how I was making it thicker. And now I want to make the line narrow. So I'm going to do that. Select the narrow. And now it's shrinking again. Now I'm going to skip this one for just a sec because there's another way to correct the line width. The redraw line width. So this is more lifetime. And now this is the redraw vector line. So here, this is also lifetime. I'm going to just redraw this line. This is very useful doing it this way. And yes, with this program, you can create objects with fills. You do not have to color everything in with pixel tools. So to create vector fills, I'm going to use one of the balloon tools. So if I go on the top, like ellipse balloon, these are your three shapes. So I'm going to create a circle, and I'm going to get rid of the brush shape. I'm going to have just regular stroke. Now you see that by default it's a black outline and white fill, and you see that there's no option to change it down here. If I select this option now with the operation tool, you'll see that I now have the options down here. So this is your stroke and this is your fill. So the stroke is the same as the line color. So I'm going to select this and I'll say a red stroke. And for the color fill, blue. So yeah, I'm really happy that it's still possible to do that in this program. Alright, now getting into the layers, you'll see that you have different layer options over here. So there's this row of buttons, and then there's a bottom row of buttons. This is a new pixel layer, vector layer, folder, and other options too. And this is a trash icon to delete layers. Now remember, this is not a vector program, so the first layer you have up is a pixel layer or bitmap layer. So clicking this, you want to create a vector layer, which is indicated by this 3D icon. I'm going to just delete this one. Now another thing is you can change the layer thumbnails. So I'm going to just go up here in this hamburger menu, and you'll see that this menu is up here for different tabs, and it changes depending on what tab you're under. So when I go here, I'm going to go all the way down to thumbnail size, and I like to have everything on large. Now I'm going to just draw something. Let's see. Now see how small that is here. So next thing I'm going to do is go down here and let's see, thumbnail display settings, and see it's showing the whole canvas, but I just wanted to show the layer area, and now it zoomed into that area. And another thing you can do is change your layer color. You have a little label. So for that, you don't go into the hamburger menu, you go to this menu up here that's a little checkbox. So I'm going to have this layer be blue. And then there are these eye icons which will hide and then reveal the layer. And I don't know what these checkboxes are yet. I know that this pencil icon or pen icon indicates what layer you are currently under, but I don't know what happens if selecting this. That I don't know just yet, so I don't want to give you any wrong information. And also you can move these icons down here if you'd like, and to do that, click on the menu here and then go down and say set command bar below list. And then now your icons are down here. Now let's say I want to transform this fairy's braids. I want to have her hair come out a little more. So I'm going to remove the color layer, and I'm going to remove the outline layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the correct line tools, and now see what happens if I try pushing her hair a little. See that it accidentally pushes her wing and a little bit of her shirt too. So see, that's not what I want to do. I just want to push these strokes here. So what you would do to change that, you would select the strokes and you would put them in their own layer, because over here, see, all the line work is just in one layer, and this is why I like to organize layers. So now that the wings are in its own layer, now when I try to push her hair, it works more. Although I don't like to push it that way, I would like to just, let's say, make a selection bounding box. And then use mesh warp. And the reason the wings are like this is because I drew them that way. So I could just bring these closer and then use the eraser tool and just erase the intersections. Now, because of what I showed you with the layers, when you transform layers, you want to make sure that they're each in the right layer. So when you transform vectors, you want to make sure that they're each in the right layer. So a way you can organize your layer is when drawing characters, have each character inside a folder. And what I did is I marked a folder as a color so it doesn't confuse with this down here. So now when I expand this, each body part is also in a subfolder. So if I look at the head, for example, you'll see that I have line art, and then I have color. So for the line art with the eyes, for example, see, it looks like that. And then I also have line art for the head, and then I have the color for the head. So, and the line art is vector layers, and the color are pixel layers. So I use the fill tool, like the bucket, the bucket for the colors. And I'll show you a little on how that works. So this is a pixel layer. I'm gonna create a vector layer. This one, and I just clicked on the layer 2, and I double clicked, and then I say line art. Now I'm going to double click here and say color. So for this, I'm going to just draw that. And now I'm going to just fill it in with the pixel tools. Click on this tool, the fill tool, say red, and then just fill. There, it's that easy. And you'll notice that there is clipping here on her head. Like, you see this, and see how it's staying within the colored region. It's staying within this layer right here. So I'm going to apply the same thing on this over here. So I'm going to create, you can create either a vector layer or a pixel layer. It doesn't matter what you do. In this case, I'm going to do a pixel layer. So I'm going to create a new pixel layer. And then I'm going to take a black. And now with this layer, I am going to click on this icon right here. Clip layer below. And now with this red icon, it's saying that this is clipped inside this. And now I'm going to take the bucket tool again, and I just fill it up. And now with this layer selected, I'm going to just lower the opacity. Now let's say there's a section on her that I want to edit, and I don't want to go searching through the layers. I can just use the operation tool, and when I use the operation tool, I just click on the part I want to edit, like maybe her belt. I just click on the color part, and now the belt layer came up. Although I'm going to select the vector layer, and now there are vector options here that come up, is because when I do this, you see that I have switch to different layer checked off. So if I don't have that checked off, then when I select on an object, it doesn't select it. But now checking it off, it does. Alright, now another thing is, let's say I want to warp both her pigtails. Now see that one is in front of her and the other is behind her. And if I look over in the layers, so I'll see that the front braid is in front and is right here, and the back braid is over here. Now I want to edit both of these at the same time. So what I'm going to do is, with this one selected, I'm going to press Command for Mac or Control for Windows. And now I'm going to just click here, not here, the mesh warp. And now I can edit both at the same time, just like that. And now the thing that is beautiful is that because this is vector, I can still edit them. And with some regions like this gap space, I'm going to just click here, bring it up, and then with the color, I just use the eyedropper tool and just fill up that region. So yeah, you would have to clean up your layers. I mean, after certain warps. I mean, that's typical. Okay, now in a case like this, let's say I want to change the size for this girl, I want to change the size of these square lens of her glasses and also her eyes. Now, you'll see that the glasses and her eyes are in different layers, and I cannot select paths of two different layers at the same time. It just ends up switching. So in a case like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lasso tool, and I'm going to create a lasso selection over both. And I'm going to get into her nose a little, and some of this will be a little off and a little pixelated. So now with the glasses and the face layer selected, I'm gonna press transform. Now I can resize. Say I want her eyes and glasses right there instead. And I'm just gonna let's see, press this to get rid of the selection. And now, of course, let's touch this up. Vector cropping can be done with the frame tools. So these tools that are for comics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a frame layer. And now I'm going to drag the Richie Rich folder right under it. Another thing I can do is I'm going to take the pixel tool and then take the rectangular pixel tool, and now I'm going to create a selection box over Richie's head, and now I'm going to, oh wait a minute, I need to select Richie Rich. And now I'm going to click on this option here. This will delete everything outside the selection. But only do this if you don't want anything else visible. This means that you cannot re-edit anything that was deleted. So I would not recommend this method. So there are three ways you can create dashed strokes. One way is to use one of the figure tools. And so we could use, let's use the Bezier curve. So I'm going to just create a line. And now under brush shape, I'm going to go into here and, oh, hold on, let's select this. Now under brush shape, I'm going to choose dashed line. Another way to create a dashed line is with one of the balloon tools. So I'm going to choose the ellipse balloon. And now when I create a shape, and then again under brush shape, there's a dashed line right here. The last way is to use one of the decoration tools and then go under the ruled line tab, and then you have dashed line right here. This is probably the easiest way. Earlier I showed you that in order to manipulate or even delete nodes with each object, you have to go to the control point tool and do it this way. And choose your option here by deleting nodes. Now this is not the only way to delete nodes in the program. You can also do so with the operation tool itself. Now in order to do this, you need to pay attention to what the mode here says. So right now it says scale rotate. I'm going to go up here where it says move control points or scale rotate. And now the nodes are now visible. And now if I select a node and say like hold shift and select many, now I can right click, it'll say delete control point, and now it deletes all those nodes. So here is this is a faster way to do this without having to keep switching to this tool. And I do use these tools quite a lot as well. To continue paths from an endpoint, you can use the vector magnet on one of the freehand tools. Otherwise, you can crisscross lines, then use the second eraser mode option, then connect the lines with the connect line tool, connect vector line. To split curves, there are 3 ways to do it. One, you can use the control point tool and then split the line this way. This way is a little too long for me. Another way you can do it is using the operation tool. Click on a node, right click, and then say split line. And a third way you can do it is use the eraser tool, use the first mode. Now one thing that this does is that notice how it doesn't give the stroke that same tapered effect, but you can still create the tapered effect. So if you click on this node, right click, and delete it, and then do the same over here, delete. Now your strokes do have that tapered look. You can do pixel editing on vectors, and here are some ways to do that. Okay, now here's another example. This may not be the best one, but so I'm going to have this fairy go through this door. And actually, let me have the door come out a little first. Alright, so the fairy is going to go through the door. And actually, I think I'm gonna rotate her a little. And it's very slow just because there's a lot on this character. So I'm gonna press OK. And now I'm gonna move her through. So it's just gonna kind of see her lower body sticking out. And just so I can reference this, I'm gonna lower the opacity a little. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the lasso tool and I'm gonna create a lasso selection around her. Now, but before I do that, this is gonna be showing this part of her leg, and her head is not gonna be showing. So what I'm going to do when I make this lasso selection, I'm going to just go around here. There. And with the lasso selection around that part of her, and with the fairy layer selected, I'm going to press mask. And I'm going to just bring the opacity back up. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm going to drag this down on this new layer icon, and now I just made a copy of it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the eraser tool and I'm going to just erase the parts I don't need. Yeah, see, I'm gonna hide this and just show that what I'm doing. Delete, 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 delete. Now show it again. And now if I want to remove the mask and show over again, so I'm going to click on the mask thumbnail, right click, and then uncheck what says enable mask. Or I could just say delete mask. Okay, now let's say that she was all just line art and that there was no color. And I want to use the eraser tool to erase this region, but then I'd like to bring her back after that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this layer. I'm going to take the eraser tool, and now I'm going to uncheck the vector eraser. Now what I'm doing is that I'm actually using a pixel eraser on vector layers. So I'm going to bring the eraser way up, and I'm going to delete all of this. I'm going to take her wings and delete all of this. But it's not actually gone. So if I take the operation tool, what you'll see that what I actually did is that I created a large transparent stroke. Now if I bring that brush size down, you'll see how it does that. So if I try moving, if I try moving this, you'll see it's just a stroke. So I can delete it and then bring it back. And then I'll delete the other one and bring it back. So that's another way to do that, whichever way works. Another thing is that the gradient tool can make gradients on regions. So if I'm going to take, so let's say I want to take, I don't know, let's see, the magic wand tool. And now I'm going to press shift and and highlight like these regions on Richie's clothes. Alright, so I want him to be wearing rainbow clothing. So now I'm going to take the gradient tool. I'm going to select the gradient. And now I'm going to create a new pixel layer. And bring this to the very top. But see, now that I got rid of the pixel selection, if I try doing it again, it creates a rainbow gradient over everything. So I want to go back to pixel selection. Oh, I want to hide that. So when I make pixel selections, it doesn't select each gradient. Alright, now I'm going to show the rainbow again, and now make gradients again. Very colorful, Richie. For the fill tool, check off fill up to vector path before making your bitmap fills. That way, you can change stroke sizes later without having to re-edit the fills. But this is not the same as updating the position or curve like Illustrator's Live Paint Bucket tool. This means that changing the stroke size after a fill is made will not result to gap space. Now there are some disadvantages. So when multiple paths are selected, deselecting will deselect all, whereas I like to just deselect each individually. When having to undo a previous state in which vectors were selected, selections will not be reselected. And you cannot change the stroke size of multiple layers at once. No ability to type on a path. There are limited shape tools. Limited effects, and no nested layers. Layers can look clunky compared to vector software. And the eyedropper, not very fast and easy for workflow, in my opinion anyway. And I'm not sure if it's possible to hide and show multiple layers at once, so I don't want to give you the wrong information by mistake. The alternative is with several layers visible, hold Alt and select the eye icon to only show that one as visible. This does not involve hiding specific layers with multiple highlighted selection, however. So if I want just the line work of Richie to show, I'm going to hold Alt and click the eye. I'm going to click the eye icon, and then it just shows the line work of Richie. And then to undo it, do it again. See, these are just temporarily hiding. So it's not necessarily the same. And there are only 2 bugs that I could find in the software. The anti-aliasing feature for the fill tool does not take effect, and with the XP Pen Artist, undoing a change with one of the freehand tools will switch the tool to the move tool or operation tool. To fix this, move the mouse and then go back to the stylus. However, I think that last tool was actually fixed because I updated since I first started this program, and I'm not finding that anymore. So right now, I don't think that is a bug. And that concludes the video. I hope this was very helpful for you, and I hope you look forward to my future videos in the playlist. They're going to be a lot shorter than this. This is just an overall walkthrough, and feel free to jump to different sections in the video description. So stay informed, and I hope to hear your feedback.